I know I cannot be the only person who constantly sees 111 and 1111. Y'all, when I found out exactly what these numbers meant, let me tell you something. This was a complete game changer. Knowing what these numbers mean is the cheat code to life, I'm telling y'all. Now, I actually started seeing these numbers right after I gave birth to my firstborn. Shout out to my baby. The thing is, I went through severe postpartum depression, so I'm like, hold on. 111, what's going on? Like, you know, when you get depressed and you having this paired with anxiety, it's already like, come on now. I'm already going through enough. But the person who I am, I didn't let that stop me from Googling what these numbers mean, because I'm going to Google. Okay. I love to Google, and Google showed me angel numbers. But the thing is, I'm like, hold on, angel numbers, is this in the Bible? Is this biblical? So I looked it up on my Bible app, y'all. I typed in angel numbers on my Bible app, y'all. I did not see it anywhere. I did not see angel numbers anywhere. However, I do understand that numbers are very symbolic in the Bible. They hold weight. So that leads me to say, okay, so what does God say? What does his word, the Bible, say about the number 1 or 111 or 1111? So this actually led me to Genesis chapter 1. So if you actually look up Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So I said, okay, that's interesting. God created, right? Now throughout Genesis chapter 1, you will notice some repetition in the wording. God said, God called, God made, God created. Now, if you actually go down a little bit inside of Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, you'll notice that after God created us human beings, he actually said these words. God said, you'll notice God created. But you'll also notice in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, it says God blessed. So I looked up that word blessed. Blessed actually means here that God granted a certain authority over to us. He told us to be fruitful, to multiply, to replenish the earth, and to subdue it, y'all. Subdue it means to take authority over something. So that just goes to show you that's literally another example of when God told us to take authority over something. So if we jump back up to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and 27, it says that God made us in his own likeness, his own image. And when I looked up the word image and likeness, it means taking more of a spiritual personality and more likeness, right? This leads me to understand that 111 and 1111 means that we have the power, the ability, and the authority to also say and to create and to make and to call, simply because God gave us that blessing. He blessed us. He literally gave us that authority to do so. Genesis chapter 1 literally is the first example that tells us what 111 and 1111 means. Now, since we understand what 111 and 1111 mean biblically, how do we apply it to our lives? Okay? How do you go about changing the situation that you're in? How do you go about wanting and needing and saying and making your dream life come to pass? Number 1 on my list is you have to have the faith. That's number 1. When I tell you, I had such low faith that I had to pray for it, because I'm like, God, I don't have faith in you right now. So God, right now, I'm going to need you to give me some faith. And I prayed this prayer and I said, God, if you are real, give me faith the size of a mustard seed. Y'all pray that prayer. It's life changing. Now, say if you just like, I don't want to pray that prayer, or I don't think it's going to work for me. If you don't think it's going to work for you, that gives you all the reason to pray it anyway, because what else do you have to lose? Number 2 of how do we apply it to our lives? You're going to take Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2, which just basically means to write it down and make it plain. You're going to take your notepad, a pen and a paper or a pencil, whatever you want to write with. You're going to write it down and make it plain. The thing is, write it down. Don't type it up in your notes. Don't go on Google Docs and type it up, okay? And also, here are some Bible verses. Like, I really, really, really want you to keep these Bible verses in mind. This is number 3. Keep these 3 things in mind. We already went over Genesis 1. We understand that it has lots of repetitive words. God said, God called, God made, God created, right? So if God, again, made us in his own image and his likeness, we have the ability, since we have the authority, right? He has given us that. He has blessed us with that. Keep that in mind when you're writing down what you want, what you need, right, from God. Also keep in mind Ezekiel 37 and apply it to your life. So I'm going to tell y'all this verse in my own words so that way you can apply it to your life. God is basically saying to speak to these dry bones, speak to these dead situations, these things that you feel like you just want to give up on. Speak to these situations, right? Hear the word of the Lord. That's what God is saying to your situation. These situations need to hear my word. And the Lord will breathe breath back into your situation. And the third verse that I want to give to you guys is Mark 11:23. Basically, you can say to this mountain move, but the thing is, you have to have the faith. Now, some examples of what I would do when I write my things down and make it plain. I'm not going to lie. When I first wrote some things down, I did not know any of these things that I'm teaching y'all. I did not know write it down and make it plain. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2. I didn't know speak to these dry bones, speak to your dry situations, speak to your dead situations. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know about Genesis 1. I understood that God created the heaven and the earth, but I didn't take it to heart. I didn't do a deep dive search like how I did when I'm teaching you guys this lesson, right? So back then, before I knew all this information, I would just literally wrote down. I didn't have any expectations. I did have faith in God because that's when I actually wrote the list down. God give me X, Y, and Z. To me, I'm guessing since I already had wrote it down and I asked God to give me faith the size of a mustard seed, that was just literally the icing on the cake. Like, that was all I needed, some faith, right? And also a technique that I like to do is to write down everything that I do not personally like about what I'm going through. And then I will write down what I want my life to look like. You're writing down how you want things to go. So all in all, it's pretty much the same technique. You're literally just writing it down, making it plain, but you want to be specific. Don't just say, God, give me a car. Say, God, give me a car to where I have 0 monthly payments, things of that nature, right? You want to be specific. Okay, because learn from me, because, sometimes I'm going to let you know exactly what to do so that way you can avoid certain things, right? Now, last but not least, we're going to discuss the terms and conditions, okay? First of all, when you write down these lists, before you write down these things, please just keep this in mind. Pray the will of God, meaning use your discernment. You know what's right and what's wrong. Don't go around writing down that you want to marry Bob because Bobby is just so fine, but Bobby got a wife. Pray the will of God. And I do have to say this because sometimes we unintentionally pray things that just just don't align. You want to make sure that you pray the will of God. You can even ask God, is this your will? If it is, then, let me receive it. If it's not, God, just bypass it up. Okay? Because listen, learn from me. And speaking of learning from me, I literally asked God the first time that I wrote this list down. I want a car, I want a house, and I want more money. But the thing is, I never asked for wisdom, y'all. So I did not have the wisdom to be able to be a good steward over these things, which my home almost got foreclosed on. I had to sell my car back to the dealership, and I hated my job so much that I quit because my mental health was just like, phew. So you want to make sure that you're praying wisdom. You asking God for wisdom before you write down anything on that list. You're going to pray this. You're going to write this down. This is your number one thing. God, give me wisdom to be able to be a good steward over these things that you give me. God, fix my heart posture so that way I am not asking for any of these things in vain and based off of negative emotion. Okay? That's the first thing you want to pray. Thank y'all for watching this video. My name is Sumyia Evans. I'm a speaker, a teacher, an entrepreneur, and a mother, and much more. Go ahead and subscribe for me so that way you don't miss a video. And we will see each other next time. Have a blessed and marvelous day.